Policing in America is way out of control. Police brutality is real, and it is happening to people of every race. Every year, we see countless faces on the news, their lives taken needlessly at the hands of police officers who were not trained properly to handle a situation or believed that their use of lethal force was called for. I believe it is up until this point that we can all agree that our police officers, our civil servants trained to protect and serve, should not be killing needlessly. My name is Vanessa Marquez, and today I will be talking about how and why police brutality is a threat to our society. My purpose for this speech is to bring awareness to an issue that is often misunderstood. This is an issue that concerns all of us, because it can happen to any one of us, regardless of our identities. This issue gets especially tricky once race is brought into question. Police brutality overall is a serious issue that needs to be addressed, and it does not take much research to see that it is very real and it is happening far too often all over the nation. The main point that I will be making, however, is that this issue is far more racially charged than many of us believe it to be. Policing in minority communities is proving to be a problem, as there seems to be several aspects that cause a disconnect between the police officers and the people they are policing. It is not a matter of who is more criminalistic, but rather, as the evidence suggests, a result of an issue that is systematically perpetuated. Now, to begin, yes, minorities really are being killed at a higher rate. Even though technically more white men are being killed, it is at a far lower rate than when it comes to people of color, once you adjust for population. According to a study conducted by PNAS, or the Proceedings of the National Academies of Sciences, and reported by data reporter for PBA's NewsHours, Laura Santhanam, it has indeed been found that people of color are being killed at a higher rate than their white counterparts. According to this same report, blacks are shown to have been killed at a rate of 96 per 100,000 at the hands of police officers. This is high compared to their white counterparts, which is 39 out of 100,000. Unfortunately, this disparity can be seen across the board for most other minorities. Though these numbers alone may not be enough to convince some of you that this is a racial issue, it is hopefully a start. Because this issue is so complex, it makes it extremely difficult to simplify it into a cause and effect explanation. Because of that, I will try to break it down, the reasons for why we are seeing these disparities as much as possible. Firstly, minorities are no more criminalistic than any other race, regardless of how they are portrayed in the media. We see far too often in the media are people of color, namely blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, portrayed in the media as gangsters, dangerous, and dismissive of our laws. The truth is, none of these are fair portrayals, and these only work to deepen the misunderstandings that ultimately cause problems for these minorities. To suggest that these people are more dangerous is nothing more than an excuse for the issues that these minorities are facing. Now, this next point also happens to be my main point. Minority communities are only dangerous because we keep suggesting that they are. What I mean by that is, the way we set up the distribution of police units is one of the main reasons we perceive minorities to be more dangerous. This issue is a lot older than we realize. According to an article published by the National Institute of Justice, written by Hubert Williams and Patrick V. Murphy, it seems as though the way we police has had an influence from the time of slavery. In order to keep slaves from existing, areas that had a higher concentration of slaves also had a higher number of police officers. Williams and Murphy's report specifically states, and I quote, elaborate police arrangements with those with large slave populations, where white masters lived in dread that their slaves would act in riots, unquote. With that in mind, it is possible that our police officers killing minorities may also have to do with how they are taught to view said minorities. The way police officers determine how much of a threat an individual is based on many factors. These factors includes the area this individual resides in, their history with the law, etc. Though this may sound foolproof, the reality is this is causing officers to label an individual prematurely and even act with more aggression and bias than they would have otherwise. According to an article by the Washington Post, written by American journalist Jonathan Capehart, police officers are able to determine how much a risk an individual is, and with just a click of a button and a number on a screen, they decide within seconds whether you are a threat to them or not. In other words, reducing a person's existence to a few numbers and predictions on a screen is one of the biggest reasons why we are seeing police use lethal force at a higher rate towards minorities. We need to find a better way to decide these things more effectively. All of this to say, this is not a black and white issue. There are many factors influencing how these things play out. It is important that we acknowledge the impact that our history has on our current society. It is also important that we give voices to those that are affected, and do not be mistaken, that includes every single one of us. These police officers are not the enemy, nor are the black and brown men and kids being killed. It is an issue that is beyond any individual, and this is something that concerns every single one of us. The sooner we can accept what the numbers are showing us, the sooner we will be able to fix the problem and make our society safer for all parties involved. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to any questions you may have.